So if you've looked at the second assignment now, the second assignment is going to be using a little bit of JavaScript. There'll be 5 parts. JavaScript can be very confusing and difficult because it's a very finicky language. If you thought HTML needed you to be precise, JavaScript will be even more so. I wanted to go over some very basic examples to get started. I'm on the FAQ of my lab pages under JavaScript tutorial. This is the page we're going to start with for this tutorial. You can either copy and paste all of this code onto your text editor, or we can click on this button here that says fork, and it will take us to the online version that I'm going to be using for this tutorial. So, this page should look familiar to what we've been doing before. There's nothing special about this page at the moment. We simply have a bit of style at the top. We have a title and 3 paragraphs. Now, how JavaScript works is it's going to work kind of like how we did our external style sheet. We're going to have our HTML page here that will work the exact same way as what we've been expecting it to, but we're going to need to add a few things. We're going to be adding buttons, IDs, and other things, which are going to activate what are called events. The events are things such as clicking on a button, mousing over a certain part of the page. There are a lot of events. Those are just a few of them. They're going to use an event to go to another page called our JavaScript page through the use of what's called a function call. The JavaScript page will have a list of functions. The event will look for a certain one, call that function. The JavaScript will come back to the HTML page, find what part of the page it needs to change based on the ID, and change that page. Now that sounds really, really confusing and complicated without being able to see it. So hopefully once we get started with this example, it'll make a little more sense. To get started, we need to set up a JavaScript page. So we're going to need a second page. On the online editor here, there's a new file button here. We'll click on that. And we'll name it testing.js. If you're just using your offline editor, it'll be how we made our pages before. You'll go File New, File Save As, testing.js. This will be where all our JavaScript code goes. No HTML will ever go on this page because it's not an HTML page, much like the style sheet. But in order for this to do anything, we have to link it with our HTML page. The linking method is a little different than what we're used to. We will write script. src stands for source equals quotation mark the name of our JavaScript page, which for my case is testing.js. And then we'll close the script tag here. This links our JavaScript page. Right now that's not going to do anything because we have no JavaScript, so our page just looks like this. We have our title and our 3 sentences. But in our first example, we're going to change text. We're going to use JavaScript to change the text. In our second example, we're going to use JavaScript to change style. And in our third example, we're going to use JavaScript to use variables. And I'll explain what that means when we get to it.